In this video, I hope to cover everything you always wanted to know about selection. Now, if you first start up SketchUp and you press the spacebar, you get this dialog box. You're prompted to set your location, which is something a lot of times people forget. But I'd rather that it just gave me the selection tool right off the bat, because I've mapped the spacebar to the select tool in my shortcuts. We're just going to have to work around this behavior, because as soon as you draw your first line, that behavior is cleared out. Now if I press the spacebar, I'll get the selection tool, and I never have to see that dialog box again unless I call for it explicitly up here under the window menu. I like to use the selection tool as a sort of way to clear out the active command. Let's say I'm drawing a circle, and I'm done drawing circles, and I don't want this circle attached to my cursor anymore. I'll press the spacebar to go to the selection tool. Of course, you don't technically need to do this. You could go on to your next command. Let's say I'm going to use the follow me tool. I could do that, but I just find that pressing the spacebar sort of helps me clear my mind and focus on the task at hand. Now that being said, in Windows the spacebar doesn't always activate the selection tool. For some reason, it's a little bit finicky. That's why I've used letter Q to activate the selection tool in addition to the spacebar in Windows. And that's something you can only do in Windows, is map two different shortcuts to the same command. In the Mac, you're limited. You only have one shortcut that you can use at a time. Okay, enough discussion. Let's take a look at a different file and learn some different selection modes. As I'm sure you're aware, you can click on a face to select it, or click on an edge to select it. If you click somewhere else, you make a different selection, and the previous selection is gone. If you double-click on a face, you get the face and its bounding edges. Those are the edges that define the face. Here's a curved face. If I double-click on it, I get the face and its bounding edges, but not the hidden edges inside. If I go up to the View menu and view Hidden Geometry, you'll see that there are additional softened and smoothed edges in here that I'm not selecting. If for some reason you wanted to get all of the edges involved in this curved face, you'd have to right-click on the face and choose Select Bounding Edges. And now we've selected those hidden edges as well. Triple-clicking results in all of the connected edges and faces being selected. Technically, you can deselect by pressing Command-Shift-A, but it's much easier just to click off to the side somewhere where there isn't any geometry. Incidentally, you can select all by pressing Command-A, and this is actually useful within a modeling context, such as a group or a component. If you press Command-A when you're in a group or component, you'll get everything in there, but you won't get everything that's outside of the context. Next, I'll deselect all by clicking off to the side, and then I'll right-click on this curved face and choose Select Connected Faces. Now, this is something that you can't get by clicking. I'm getting all of the connected faces that are adjoining this one. That is, this curved face itself, these two, this one, and the top face. None of the faces on the back are selected because they don't share common edges with this face that I right-clicked on. I'd get a different selection if I right-clicked on, say, this face and chose Connected Faces. Notice that I'm actually getting one of the faces which are within this curved surface. It stops here at the first hidden edge. You can also select by material or layer. For example, I'll right-click on this red face and choose Select All with Same Material, and I also get this other red face in my selection set. Similarly, I can select this right face, right-click, and choose Select All on the Same Layer, and I get these two hexagons which happen to be on layer 1. SketchUp doesn't have a lasso tool for selection. You can't make a crossing polygon or a fence like you can in AutoCAD, or a magnetic lasso like you can in Photoshop. Instead, you have to use the rectangular selection window in combination with your point of view. So here I started making a selection from the upper left-hand corner, and as I dragged down, the selection window had a solid border to it. This is called a window selection, and it will only select things that are completely inside the window. Let's try that again. I'll start over here and drag down like this, and I'm only going to get that hexagon because it was the only thing completely inside the window. If instead I start dragging the window from the lower right-hand corner, you'll notice that its border is dashed. This indicates a crossing window. Anything that this marquee touches or crosses will be selected. This is just like the behavior in AutoCAD, and it should be very familiar to you if you've used that program. It's important that you change your point of view when you're making selections in SketchUp. Here, by rotating my point of view, I can more easily select all of these surfaces on this wall, because they coincide with the geometry of the rectangle that I can drag out with the window selection. There are 3 keyboard shortcuts for selection, and these can be used on their own or in conjunction with regular windows and crossing window selections. First, there's the Shift key. It's sort of your multi-purpose selection tool, and it allows you to build up a selection set. I'll hold down the Shift key, and you'll see that there's a +/- attached to the cursor. This means I can add or subtract to the selection, so I can build up a complex selection set. I'll double-click here to remove this face and its connected edges from the set. Or maybe I want to add these additional edges just by clicking on them. The Option key puts you in additive mode, so anything that you select will only be added. Shift Option puts you in subtractive mode. Now I can only subtract from the selection. Option and Shift Option are best used in conjunction with windows. So for example, if I want to add to the selection, I'll just hold down the Option key. If I want to subtract from the selection, I'll hold down Shift Option. There are a few other selection tricks that have to do with styles. I'll open the Styles window and edit the current style. Go to the face level here. I'll switch into wireframe mode, deselect. Just move this over, zoom out a bit, and I'll make a regular window selection around everything. I'm getting all of the edges. I'll go back into the normal view here, which includes texture mode, and now I have a selection set which includes all the edges but no faces. X-ray is a powerful selection and visualization mode, and you can toggle it on by clicking this button. You can also press the X key, so I typically don't open the Styles dialog box for X-ray mode. In X-ray mode, you can see through faces to the edges that are beyond. So for example, in X-ray mode I can select this circle, even though it's obscured by this rectangular face. I can't, however, select that circular face. If I try to select it, I actually get this rectangular face because it's in front. I'd have to orbit around here and select the face manually if I wanted to get that. So X-ray mode is useful for edges only. It's also useful to help you see what's actually happening. If I make a selection here in the normal mode and make a window selection around this red face, it looks to me like that's the only thing that was selected. Toggling into X-ray mode shows you the truth. I also selected all of these edges on the backside. To get rid of them, it's necessary to orbit into some orientation where I can isolate that geometry. Then I'll press Option-Shift to ensure that I only subtract from the selection set. And I'll make a window that encloses those things to remove them from my selection.